All right. Um, this, well, real quick. Um, Here's my receipt. Complete the story. Did that today. Also wrote a review. Um, what, 27 hours? And I gotta say, um, probably the last at least 10 to 12 hours were painful. Um, let's also get this out of the way. I don't have any problem with uh, Abby's character, like physical character design. I don't got any problem with Ellie being gay. I don't have any problem with Lev or anything like that. And in all honesty, I think Lev was probably the best character in the game. So if you're gonna try and come at me with any of that bullshit, you need to take yourself on somewhere because I'm not hearing it. That being said, yeah, this game sucked. Um, I I've gone on record before, and I'll go on record again, saying that in the first game, Joel was a terrible protagonist for 95 to 97% of the game. He only started to turn it around when he went back in to save Ellie. And I know I'm extremely late to this, and this is something else that I'm going to get on with before I start getting into the actual part two. Um, I'm not holding back. There will be spoilers. Sorry, but that's just how it's going to be. I didn't mind the flipping back and forth between protagonists. I didn't mind that. But they did it wrong. I was kind of mad that I had it spoiled for me that Joel was killed in the game or that he died. And I went, well, that sucks. If you would have told me he dies within the first few hours, I'd have been like, well, that really sucks. And I think that was done to just sort of shake you at your core. But this is where they messed up. The first time we ever play as Abby, we play Abby on her way to go and find a way to kill Joel. It's even hinted at heavily. Well, we can't just go in there. Well, maybe we can find a way to lure him out. Okay? Like we know right from that point, we know what's coming. We know what's coming. But honestly, rather than the first 2 hours, it should have been within the last 4. The first time we play as Abby should have been the scene where she's trying to look for her dad. Her dad's talking about she should be giving birth anytime. I'm going, what the hell is happening? And we start hearing these weird sounds. I'm going, what the hell is going on? You see the zebra. Owen comes, helps out, holds the zebra, clips it. Zebra gets freed, takes off. And Abby's dad takes off after it. And then Owen's like, God damn it. And he goes after it too. End it right then and there. First time we play as Abby. And we're like, what? And this is where I felt they needed to have some other things added in, because at this point you don't get any bit of understanding of what's going on between Ellie and Joel until the outro. And that doing it that way was almost as if you had said, here's justification for everything we did. Forgive us. I mean, that was essentially what they did. Is here's what we're going to present to you. Forgive us. Here's a good note to end on. No, that should have been earlier on. The first time we take control of anyone should have been Joel. We're going to go wander around, try and find Ellie. He goes with Tommy and Maria and Ellie, and you could even say Dina and Jesse. Get them all together, and they go on patrols. They're learning how to do them and all this other kind of stuff. So whenever you hear Ellie later to talk about stop giving Jesse shit about his patrols, well, we could see that Joel had taught him how to do it properly. And if Joel can sit there and say this isn't proper, then we have some kind of leg to stand on. But instead, it's just we throw that in there to go, all right, well, now we have a way to just kind of go, see, Joel's a prick. And that's pretty much all you ever get. The entire game is Joel is a prick. And I'm sitting there going, why are you shitting on the previous title without showing the descent? Because we all got that sense whenever she goes, swear what you said about the fireflies is true. He goes, I swear. And she just kind of looks and she goes, I know you're lying, and it hurts to hear it right now, but we'll deal with this later. She just, okay. And you could tell even the way she said, okay, she didn't believe him. And so you finish that first game of, oh shit, but we never got any of the shaking of the foundations between the two of them. And that's what this game really, truly missed. That and the first time we play as Abby should have not been to go after Joel. That was just, let's start the game with a banger and off we go. There was another game that did that I felt was bad when they did it then too, and that was Life is Strange True Colors, when the girl's brother dies in the first episode, and then you spend the next 3 episodes trying to figure out, oh, what the hell happened, and then the last episode is smush all this shit together. It was just badly done. We didn't get a chance to live in that world and breathe in that world. And that's what this game sorely needed to make Joel's death more impactful. Instead, it was seen more as just like a, here's shock value for shock value, and now we're going to continue forward. I just kind of went, this is too soon. You want to kill him off, cool, but let us reconnect again. You know, there's been X amount of time between releases, and even between my plays. I finished. I last played Last of Us Part 1. I had 34.4 hours, and I played through it twice. I wanted to go through and get everything in there because I really enjoyed it, but it said that I last played on August 10th. So almost, over a year later, I finished this one. But I know whenever people got it on the PlayStation, there was this moment of, you know, we're waiting for it, and then they're like, here's the reveal trailer and spoiler or teaser trailers and shit like that. And everybody was all up in arms of Ellie's gay, and I'm going, who cares? That shouldn't be an integral part of the story. But everything on Ellie's end felt rushed, and everything on Abby's end felt dragged down. And I want to say at its core, the game meant well. It tried to do something, but it failed. It failed in execution. It failed in pacing. It failed in development. It failed in every other aspect. But the core message was there, and it was a decent one to go off of, but they built the pyramid upside down. The foundation needs to be way more solid than just a point, because that's all this was. This was the point of the game, and we just build up from there, and they did it wrong. I attribute The Last of Us Part 2 to be very akin to The Last Jedi, where at its core, what The Last Jedi tried to do was say, it doesn't matter who the hell Rey's parents are. That is irrelevant. You guys kept trying to speculate about that and all that other kind of shit, and it was during the first movie and in between the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, you're just going, who cares? And that's kind of what he was saying. And then it goes, there's a whole lot of people in the universe, and there's other people that we could try and look towards to build stories off of. And let's try and move that route. But then you undermine everything before. Now all of a sudden we start paying attention to ships are running out of fuel. Even though on Hoth you see them pulling out stuff that looks like it could potentially contain fuel, but it was never mentioned. Oh, we're running out of gas. We don't have enough energy to get here. It was never mentioned. No one reloads a laser rifle. Nothing. There was no resources. It was just we're done with it. And all of a sudden, we're running on fumes. Well, push everything to here. Put it all on the aft shields and shit. And it was just it was a mess. Canto Bight was a mess. Last Jedi and The Last of Us 2 had a good point, but they didn't have a good foundation to build off of. You basically turn Luke from, I'm here at the end of Force Awakens, let's go forward, and then he's like, nah, fuck all this stuff. I'm going to go get some green titty milk, and then just kind of tell myself I don't exist anymore. And it was just a lot of unfavorable, not fan respecting moments, just like The Last of Us Part 2 had. There was some decent parts, but again, I still think that in the beginning we needed to have more of, let's see what happens when they get back from that hospital. When they come back, and Tommy's just kind of going, everything all right? And he's like, yeah. Well, then he ends up confiding in Tommy, and Tommy's just kind of like, dude, this is heavy. This is something that, you shouldn't be carrying this. And Ellie just keeps building up this animosity. And we get to have some moments to where we start seeing what's going on between Dina and Jesse, and then Joel's talking about how Ellie looks like she has a crush on Jesse, but it was more like jealousy on Jesse because she wanted to be with Dina and shit like that. And we didn't have any of that. It was just kind of, here's her girlfriend, here's her girlfriend's ex, go. Like, there was a lot of stuff that they tried to spoon feed you, but it was always under the wrong character. It was, let's talk about Abby. Let's make Abby a big deal. And no one gave a shit. I think you flip back and forth between them more often. And the only time I can say that I cared anything about what was going on with Abby was whenever you were way up high and there was a part where she's like freaking out. She goes, I'm freaking out. And she slips and she almost falls. I felt my butthole tighten. I was like, oh shit. Nope. Ain't no way in hell you're getting me up there. I don't give a fuck. And then you go through all of that trouble to go get these medical supplies. You fight one of the goofiest goddamn bosses in one of the smallest goddamn arenas and have no time to heal yourself. I died probably about 30 times against that big bastard in the bottom of that hospital that the wolves were loading up and taking back to their base. I died 30 times, and apparently that's called the Rat King. I died like 30 times against that thing. Sometimes I'd get off 4 shotgun shots and then blah, just I was done. And there was so many times, I cannot tell you how many times I would get killed with bullshit and just Alt F4. I'll come back later. Like it was almost this entire week of just back and forth. I'll play a little bit more, get to the next spot, and then next time there's bullshit, Alt F4, and I'll just keep going. And I did that on repeat. The first one I had to keep, I kept going because it seemed like every step you took was going to something. I never felt that at all in this one. there's a big chunk of this game, on Ellie's part especially, where as a dungeon master, you always hear about how do I get my group not to turn into murder hobos. That's what the fuck she was. For the longest time, Ellie was just a murder hobo. Let's go from one spot to the next, just killing everybody. Damn them all. And then you get to the very end, she loses 2 fingers, and she just kind of goes, take him and go. It would have been better if we would have just had a cutscene for that rather than this bullshit fight scene. Because for the majority of the fight, Ellie has a knife and she is carving this chick up. And I'm going, you're about to go out onto the ocean with open wounds. Hi. Welcome to diseases and scurvy and shit. I'm just like, maybe not scurvy, but still, it's not going to be good. Your lips are parched. You're dehydrated. And somehow you had the strength to pick up Lev and carry him to the boat, drop him off, and then get into a fight. And you can see on Abby's face, she's pained every time. She's like, I don't want to do this, but this bitch is making me do this. And it was a lot of hype for no payoff. And I'll say it again. The best character arc in the game was Lev. I'm going to find out Lev was a chick called Lily. They were saying, nope, you're not going to be a soldier like your sister. You are going to be a wife. And she goes, the hell I am, and shaves her head. And then it was punishment time. And the sister and Lev were like, well, we got to get out of here because they're going to kill you. Or probably at that point, whoever they were going to give you to be a concubine or whatever, just going to beat the shit out of you because you have no hair. You look more like a boy than a girl, and they're just not going to be happy with that. And so there was a lot of points in the game where you're just kind of going, this could have been done so much better. Like I said, start off with Abby. We start playing as her. Why are we running around as her? We start learning all the controls and shit like that. And let's not forget pressing right trigger to reload and then left trigger and right trigger to shoot. I'm going, if I'm trying to reload and I'm going to shoot, you're going to piss me off. Should have been a different button. Anyway. Well, you're running around with Abby, getting familiar with her. Okay? Give us more spots where she's talking with her dad. Dad's teaching her medical stuff. So later on when we hear about compartment syndrome, she knows what that means because we saw her basically taking medical pop quizzes from her old man. Would have been able to justify it more in the long run. And then we get to the zebra part, and at the end of the zebra part is where Owen's like, Doc, we gotta go. The girl who apparently is immune is getting prepped for surgery right now. We gotta go. And that's something we shouldn't know yet. We should not know that yet. That's why I said whenever Owen goes running after the doc, after he goes after the zebra, that's where that scene has to end. And then we go do other stuff, and we have more of those day-to-day things, like when she's going on patrols with Manny and shit like that. We need to see her and Owen together, and then see her and Owen separated, and then Owen and Mel together, and how Abby's dealing with that, because we have to connect with her first. And the thing is, the first time we control her, you are sending her in to head off the firing squad that takes Joel out. At that point, you lost any type of arc for us to give a shit about this chick. When I finally got done and Lev and Abby go back and there's a fight against Ellie and Ellie's whooping my ass and I'm going, I'm glad I'm dead. That's what I want. Why are you telling me this is game over? That was another one where I'm going, what the fuck is happening? Because no matter what I tried to do, it always seemed like I could never get a hit on her. And I'm going, good, Ellie, whoop my ass. Kill this dumb bitch. Let's be done with this. Because this is stupid. I can't tell you how many times I was just going, I hate this fucking game. I hate everything about this game. Because especially when you go on that whole long arc, and I swear it was like a 13-hour, let's just have you concentrate on Abby. I'm going, I don't want to be here. I don't want to have anything to do with this fucking character. There is nothing you can do that is going to have me give a shit about this character. Nothing. There's no way you can turn this around. It doesn't matter if she's beefcake or not. I don't care. A bullet to the head stops a muscle. I don't care. There's no way you could get me to give a shit about her, and I never did. The only time you give a shit about Abby is because you were like, you need to help out Lev and Yana. That's it. That is it. That is the only part of her story that actually matters. When she shows up and she's trying to talk to Owen, and you're really trying to get this thing home of, look, she's connecting with people. But it's too late. She already did the most unforgivable thing you could have had her do. And there is nothing that you can do that will bring her back to the point to where we care about her. That's just not how it happens. That's why you had to have Joel die towards the end of the game. Because the entire time we're fighting for her. Because I still think if you'd have had it to go through all that trouble of trying to get the medical supplies needed to try and properly cut off Yana's arm, and you took Lev with you, and you guys went through all that shit, and then you come back and Lev goes, I gotta go get Mom if we're going off to Santa Barbara, and then you go after Lev. All of that needed to happen before Joel. Before Joel. It had to. Because then when we take control of Abby and we realize she's going after Joel, we don't want to do it. But we understand more about where she's coming from up to that point, rather than, here's the point you hate, now let's walk you back and come back to this point because you're going to care about her. No, we're not. No, we're not. And it's for two simple reasons. One, Joel was already an asshole in the very first game, and he made that very clear very, very many times. And there's nothing you could have done, nothing you could have said that could have ever changed our mind that said, hey, this is okay. And no, Joel's just, he needed to have his moments to have us reconnect with him again, because we never once play as him in the second game. Not once. We play alongside him a couple times, but we never play as him. Like taking Ellie to go get replacement guitar strings and everything goes to shit. That needed to happen before he died. Like all of those things need to happen. We need to build that connection back up again to bolster us to go, look at how much he's changed from fuck them all, I'll kill everybody for this girl. Because ultimately what ended up happening is that in that hospital in the first game, Joel was left with an impossible choice. Do I let this world take another daughter from me without my say-so? Or do I try to give this daughter a chance at life that the first one was never given? That's an impossible choice. And then everybody was saying, this is what Ellie wants. You don't know that. There was never a point in time where you were sitting there telling her, look, kid, you're not getting up from this. Are you okay with that? Because even when she woke up, after all the meds had worn off and she's in the back of Joel's car, even when she woke up, she'd been like, I shouldn't be here. What the fuck? She's just kind of like, what happened? What's going on? She was never told. She was just a tool. And Joel recognized that she was cargo to him and he didn't care about her, and then all of a sudden he did, and she was nothing more than an agenda for everybody else until he said, fuck you, I'm taking my girl with me. I mean, there was moments in the first game where Ellie is basically crying out saying, I love you, you grumpy old bastard. Stop being a prick. And Joel never listens. And this time he finally listened, and she's mad that he did. Like, that's a complex dichotomy to have between these two main characters. And we didn't touch on that at all in the second one. We didn't get their fallout. The very end where he's saying, if the Lord sent me back to give me a second chance, there's not a damn thing I wouldn't change. And that was his way of saying, I'm sorry that you feel like I screwed your life up, but I love you too much just to let you go on a hope. And then her screaming about, you know, my life needed to have meaning. Why wasn't there some type of fatherly thing of going, life has the meaning that we give it. Life is not inherent at meaning from birth. You have to give your own life meaning. And I lost one daughter without a choice. And I'd be damned if I was going to have that happen again, because if I could go back to the first one, I'd have done things a little bit differently, so my daughter probably would have lived. But as far as you, no, I'm not changing a goddamn thing that I did, because I made sure to save your ass, because I had a choice. I could go in there and save my little girl that I come to love, who was just cargo, by the way. And now he's like, I mean, you learn that Ellie can swim without us ever having lessons to it. That was a great way for us to be like, oh shit, she went in the water. And then she's just sitting there treading water. We knew at that point, Joel had taught her how to swim. That was a good thing. Put it beforehand. That should have been way before he died. That way his death has impact. Because essentially what you said, because Joel thinks, or because Ellie thinks Joel took away her meaning, we took away Joel's meaning and his meaningful existence at the very beginning of the game, because that's a fuck you to Joel. That's a disservice to the character, to the community, to the fans, to Troy Baker. It's so disappointing. Like, I can't really just fathom how dumb and how poorly paced this game is. And that's why I think the playing in chronological mode exists in the first place. Because maybe, just maybe, you'll care more about it this time. No, I probably goddamn won't. I don't even want to play this fucking game again. Ever. I have less time in it, and a lot of it was frustration time. And I'm just going, I don't want to play it again. I do not want to play as Abby ever again. Ever. And I honestly didn't even want to finish the damn game. I wanted to actually just sit there and go on YouTube and go, tell me about it. Let's just see what happened, and I just be done with this piece of shit. Because it was 2 different times in the middle of playing this, I deleted the fucking game and reinstalled it about an hour later. It was just so badly done. And if you're someone that sits there and going to try to sit there and tell me that, well, it's because Abby was kind of butch, I couldn't care less. Oh, it's because Ellie's gay. I couldn't care less. Oh, it's because Lev is trans. Who gives a shit? You don't have a good story because you tell someone it's a good story. You have a good story because someone else tells you how much they enjoyed it. Like, I feel like the book that I wrote was pretty good. I felt like there was enough character depth for all the characters. There's enough to sit there and get the story moving and going forward, get you invested into the characters, everything like that. And then, next thing you know, Shit happens. But this one, I didn't even like Ellie. I'll flat out say it like that. I didn't even like Ellie. Because she was such a shell, and only a shell, of her former self. And the inside of that shell was tempered glass at best. But it was non-existent. There was almost nothing about Ellie other than just sheer stubborn resolve. And she just turns into a murder hobo. And in all actuality, the game probably you could even sit there and go so far as to say it's murder porn. Just so many times you take someone out and they scream someone else's name going, I shot you in the face. You don't scream out anything. You don't even go and gurgle yourself to death. You are just gone. Why are you gurgling? You have no face. All of this is gone. You don't. No. You don't have a brain function that says gurgle your shit. No. For Ellie to go through all of that trouble to try and get to Abby 2 different times and then just let her walk off. I mean, we didn't even have a point in time where we were helping Abby work out. We walked by a gym, but there was never a point where she just like, oh, just getting my reps in. Nothing. Why not? Why are we not having like lifting competitions with other people on base? That way we are helping build her physique. And speaking of physique and her being strong as shit, why the hell was she not more brutal with a melee weapon? Just one hit, clang, and the dude is gone. Why not? No. They all take 2 hits, just like when Ellie's weak-ass arms do it. Make it make sense. Bottom line is that this game tried really hard to sit there and tell you the folly of revenge and vengeance and how it just becomes cyclical. But it did such a piss poor job at actually conveying that. And Critical Drinker came up with something good. He goes, imagine that you're playing as both Ellie and Abby, and occasionally Joel at times, coming to a head, and at the climax, say Abby finds Ellie and starts whooping her ass. Joel was unconscious from Owen hitting him or something. Next thing you know, Joel wakes up, sees Ellie's getting his ass beat, and then Ellie sits there and puts a gun and just blows Joel's brains out. Now Ellie's freaking the fuck out, and she just goes to kind of stab Abby. There's so many different things that you could have done that would have made it more potent instead of just here's shock value for shock value's sake. And then let's force you into playing this character you don't want anything to do with, and you celebrate every single time she fails because she wasn't a good person either. Mel's pregnant. Mel's with Owen. Nah, fuck it. Let's go sit there and bone Owen in the boat after he's talking about going to Santa Barbara. And the next day shows up, and now Mel is showing that she is actually visibly pregnant. And now Abby is like, man, now I have guilt. See, you're a terrible person too. And that's 2 terrible things that you've done. And we're supposed to sit there and connect with you? Get out of here. And I feel bad for Laura Bailey because Laura Bailey usually does a great job, but this is one of those characters I'm just going, I don't want to ever play as that character again. I don't want to play in chronological order. I don't want to go back through it. That story was terrible. It was unfulfilling. And I got a feeling that it would be a little bit easier to handle and to go through if you are in the chronological order mode. But that doesn't make the content of that order better. it's still muddled down, and it's still just ultimately, nah, I'm good. Yeah, that's all I got to say about this POS. I just I was disappointed, and I enjoyed the first game so much. I enjoyed the first season of the show so much that I was like, okay, now it's time to get in here and play this game. And so I did, and yeah, can I have my 27 and a half hours back and just go watch like a 30-minute video on YouTube that just breaks it all down, and I could just go, that's dumb. And I will say that sometimes less is more, because the amount of guns and shit that you have in this game, completely unnecessary. And then you get the silenced submachine gun towards the end, and you can't even upgrade anything on it, so it's spray and pray. And I'm going, I can make a silenced pistol, and I got a bow. I don't need the submachine gun. I'm good. I think I used it the very first time that I got it, and saw how quickly it just piss sprayed bullets, and I never used it again. I was like, can I just drop this damn thing? So, yeah. Got something to say? Love to hear it. But, yeah. Screw that game. Total waste of time.